Alright guys, Mr. G back with more SnowRunner, and today we are going to break down all of the scouts that you're going to get in the game, all the basic ones right off the bat. Yeah, we're skipping the giant Russian APC thing today. We are going to cover the basic ones. What are they good at? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? We are going to test them all side-by-side comparison in mud and snow. Let's get to it. Let's start with the Chevy. This is the first rig you're going to start out in SnowRunner. It's not going to have a diff lock right off the bat. You're going to have to unlock it. It's got decent fuel consumption, decent power, and decent traction. It's an all-around pretty okay rig, especially starting out. Now you can go ahead and add the roof rack like we did here, but that is going to raise your center of mass, making it slightly more tippy, although it is still going to be fairly stable. As far as hill climbing goes, this thing does okay. We're going to go ahead and stick it in low range and put the diff lock on. As you can see, upgraded with mud tires, upgraded engine, and the off-road transmission, she can climb just about anything, although you are going to run into a little bit of trouble when you get on steeper surfaces. And it is going to get a little bit tippy with that roof rack on. You can see she will flip right over. Now speaking of tippy, the Scout 800 is stupidly tippy. This is probably going to be the second Scout you unlock in SnowRunner because you can find it on the first map in the northwest corner, right up there at the top. Now I do like the Scout in that it has some really nice and grippy tires. It's got a diff lock that's always going to be on, aka no diff lock. And it feels grippy and it feels like it just has good overall strength, although with raised suspension, mud tires on, and the roof rack overhead, the center of mass is very, very high, meaning this is one of the most likely to tip builds that exists in SnowRunner. So we're going to take it up this hill and you're going to see she climbs pretty good, although it will actually not only tip sideways, it will tip over backwards. Yeah, it's not only top heavy, it's a little bit back heavy, and there she goes. You're going to want the autonomous winch on this so that when your engine stalls and when you do tip over, you'll be winching it back upright quite a bit. Now the Lodestar is perhaps one of the most underrated scouts, but stock it's pretty bad. Although its power to weight ratio is insane, and this girl is thick. She's a wide load. Also, it's one of the only scouts you can put a big service add-on for fixing and a loading crane on the back. Fun fact, all old international 2-ton trucks were actually referred to as Lodestars back in the day. Now this thing, we've got upgraded mud tires on it, we've got nice big dualies in back. It's just a really powerful rig, and in low range she will just climb up. Now the all-wheel drive and the diff lock are always engaged on this thing, so it's just always ready to go for grippy driving. Although she is a little bit big, you're often going to get stuck in between trees with this thing, but it does not want to tip over. The Lodestar is an underrated hero of a scout. Next on our list, the modern choice for the sleek SnowRunner with too much money on their hands. Yes, the H2. The H2, you're going to want a decent amount of upgrades on it before it's going to be decent, but one of the cool things is you can get a roof rack and you can fill the trunk with supplies. You're going to grab the H2 from the first Alaska map, and you're going to have to tow this one and pull it out, but it's a good scout to go with for either your third or your second scout, as you can just go up to Alaska, and we pulled it out with the Scout 800. Now, one of the advantages to the H2 is it has really good fuel consumption, you can carry a decent amount of fuel with you, and it's really stable. Where it's not great is with traction and grip. It doesn't perform super great as far as gripping and overall traction are concerned, but it is extremely stable in that it's wide and decently long. It's not going to want to flip on you very easily. In fact, the H2 remains one of my go-to scouts in-game when I want to go a really long ways. I'm worried I'm going to run out of gas. It's the one I go to. Next up on our list, the Yar. You've got to reach level 10, and then you've got to head yourself over to Siberia, aka Russia, to purchase this bad boy. Now it's an experimental 6x6. Diff lock is always on, but it has engageable all-wheel drive. Not much is going to stop this thing. So we've got the upgraded mud tires on this instead of the big balloony tires that it comes with stock. This thing is pretty decent. Its center of mass seems like it would be pretty high, but actually carries a lot of extra weight down low with that extra axle, making it significantly less tippy than the Scout 800. It's not very fast, but it is really good at climbing and just powering through rough terrain. But you do need to be aware that yes, with the roof rack on this, like any of the other rigs, you can tip it if you're not careful. Now, I thought as soon as I unlocked this thing, it was going to become my go-to Scout. I just didn't love it. It just wasn't as fast as I had hoped and wasn't quite as good at powering through things as I thought it would be. And now here we are stuck between two trees. This is just embarrassing. Let me just crawl over this hill and get out of here. Now, the last Scout we're going to cover is only available via DLC, or if you buy the season pass for SnowRunner, it's only going to cost you like $3 or €3 if you go ahead and just buy the DLC for this thing. Now, it's the Con. It comes with these massive balloon style mud tires and really high suspension and one of the fastest engines and transmissions in the game. This thing feels like twice as fast as any of the other Scout vehicles once you jump in it. You can get yourself into trouble if you're not careful by either bouncing off stuff or just flipping over in general. However, that being said, it is stupidly OP. Almost nothing will stop this thing or slow it down. Mud, it goes right through. Rocks, it jumps over it. If you really are struggling in the game and you need something to help you out, go ahead, buy the DLC, spend the $3, £3, €3, whatever it is, because this thing is absolutely fantastic as a Scout. I don't have the roof rack yet. You have to be higher than a level 10 to unlock that. There aren't a ton of upgrades for this thing. We do have the engine upgrade on this, the off-road transmission, and some upgraded wheels on it. However, I was trying to prove that you can easily flip it. Instead, I'm just going to get stuck on a tree and embarrass myself. Now, next up, we are going to do a side-by-side comparison of how all of these vehicles behave in muddy conditions in Siberia and snowy conditions in Alaska, so stick around. Alright, first test, mud test. We are using mud tires on all of these vehicles as well as diff lock on in low range mid. So as you can see, Russia, if you haven't been there, is pretty terrible as far as it goes when it comes to mud, but which of these vehicles is going to handle the best? We're doing the same course for all of them. Mud tires on all of them, low range gearbox on all of them, running them diff lock on. And of course, first up is the Con. By a large margin. That thing is a mud machine. Still waiting on second place. Second place, the Yar comes in with its 6 wheels, so that's no real surprise. But you'd be confused if you'd be wondering what's going to come third place. Wait for it. The Chevy, the starter rig. Followed by the Lodestar, the Scout 800, and you wouldn't believe it, but last but not least, the H2, which I still love as a Scout vehicle, but man, she is slow when it comes to slogging through mud or slogging through snow. Just doesn't quite have the traction. Yeah, are you going to get this done, H2? Anytime now of some of the other vehicles. Next up, we're doing a basic snow test, still using mud tires, diff lock on, and low range gearbox or off-road gearbox. As you can see, once again, the Con is way ahead of the competition, just out there in front of all the rest, plowing through the snow. First place goes to the Con. Once again, second place to the Yar, but ties with the Lodestar. And coming in third, the Scout 800 and the H2. And last, in this particular one, the Chevy. Guys, I don't want to say one of these vehicles is better than all of the others, but the Con is definitely pretty dang good as far as Scouts go, but they all serve their purposes. The Lodestar is your heavy duty, the H2 is your long range, the Con is your high speed, I'm going to go over everything, and the Chevy is an absolute great starter car, and if you really want a 6x6 beast, you've got the Yar. They're all good in their own respects. Hope this was helpful. Like and subscribe for all things SnowRunner. I'm going to catch you guys later. Mr. G out.